Gonna give it just another minute before we get started. Once again, welcome. We're so grateful for y'all taking some time out of your evening to join us for this meeting on the Walter E. Long Metropolitan Park Phase 1 play features. We're really grateful tonight that we are able to provide interpretation, and so I'm going to turn it over to Susana Pimiento and with Language Access Austin for her to give some instructions.
Thank you so much. There is interpretation is available. So please, if you are on your computer, you can see a little globe icon at the bottom of your screen. Press it and click it, and then you can choose your language. And if you are joining us from your tablet or your phone, click the three little dots or more. Then you will find language interpretation, select your language, and press done. If you have any trouble with interpretation with the language, please let us know in the chat. We will try to help you. Buenas noches. En esta reunión hay interpretación. Si están en sus computadoras, presionen el icono del mundo en la parte de abajo de su pantalla y allí pueden seleccionar su idioma. Si están en sus teléfonos o sus tabletas, presionen los tres puntitos y hay más o more. Allí encontrarán interpretación de idiomas y seleccionar su idioma preferido. Y no olviden presionar listo o finalizar. Si tienen algún problema con la interpretación, por favor, déjenoslo saber en el chat y trataremos de ayudarlos. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much, Susanna. Once again, my name is Adrienne O'Keefe. We're grateful for y'all to be here. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Reynaldo Hernandez with Parks and Rec. If y'all have any questions, I just want to say during the meeting, we will be getting through a lot of material, but if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will be monitoring the chat to get answers to your questions during the meeting. And here you go, Ray.
Thank you, Adrienne. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. And my name is Ray Hernandez. I'm a project manager for the City of Austin Parks and Recreation Department. And I'll be working on this project along with some other folks. And I wanted to let you all know that this is for the Walter E. Long Phase 1 implementation. The department started this project back in 2018 and completed the vision plan in 2020. And we're here to receive input from the community on the traditional play and the natural play elements that we are proposing for implementation of this Phase 1. And with that, I'd like to introduce some of the other folks who are working on this project, and I'll start off with Mel.
Hello, I'm Mel Fuchek. I'm a City of Austin project manager. I'm with the Capital Delivery Services Department. Thank you, Ray.
Julia, if you're available.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. Good evening, everyone. I'm Julia Hill with the Parks and Recreation Department, representing the Cities Connecting Children to Nature initiative, and we specialize in nature play. So if you have any specific questions about nature play, happy to help answer those.
Thank you, Julia. And I'll turn this over now to our consultant, Rialto Studios, Robert.
Thank you, Ray. Good evening, everyone. And again, thank you for being here. My name is Robert Deegan. I am a principal with Rialto Studio Landscape Architecture. We are the prime consultants for the implementation of the Phase 1 improvements at Watler E along Metropolitan Park. And as Ray said, tonight we're here to really talk to you and get your opinions on some concepts for a really fun playground design that we're very excited about implementing out at this park. I've got a couple other members of my team here. I want to let them introduce themselves real quick, and then we'll jump into the meat of the presentation. So, Edith.
Good evening. My name is Edith Uresti, and I'm the assistant project manager for this project with Rialto Studio.
I'm Emma Margulies. I'm a designer at Rialto Studio on this project.
Great. Next slide. So here you can see an overall map of the Phase 1 area of Watler E Long Park. This is not the entire park, of course, which wraps the entire lake, but this is the south side of the lake. So you can see the main entry to the park at Hogeye Road intersection with Blue Bluff Drive. This is probably the area most of you are familiar with where you access the park. There's a ticket booth. And then straight ahead down Blue Bluff Drive, you arrive at the large boat ramp and boat parking area that's existing today that you can see as the big gray area at the top of this screen. Blue Bluff is intersected by Sailside Drive, and we're going to be implementing improvements all along Sailside Drive as part of this project. A lot of those are pretty basic infrastructure improvements, including parking, repaving, utilities, trails, some revegetation and trees and that sort of thing. Great stuff and stuff that'll improve the park, but I think me and my team are most excited about the implementation of the playground area. That's the centerpiece of this presentation here tonight. And the proposed playground area is really highlighted here at the sort of northeast corner of the intersection of Blue Bluff Drive and Sailside Street. That location kind of got centered in on for a variety of reasons, including the fact that it is very near the existing restroom building that will be restored to new functioning operation as part of this project. There are some nice existing trees in that area that provide opportunities for natural shade. It's fairly central to the project, so provides a good general location for users throughout the project. It also commands great views of the lake without being so close to the lake that it creates potential hazards for younger users of the play area. Next slide. So we're going to be talking about two areas of our playground tonight. There's an area we're calling the traditional play area, and that area is meant to embrace many of the ideas of all-inclusive play. And then there's an area that we're calling the nature play area, which has some very specific goals as well. So with the traditional inclusive playground area, what we're trying to do is create a universally inclusive playground that really meets the cognitive, emotional, and physical needs of the very wide range of children that playground is serving. So that may mean physical accessibility. That may mean having spaces for children to take a cognitive break or to have different types of experiences that fit their mood. It also can mean especially for able-bodied children, still providing those very high levels of challenges within that playground that keep those children engaged as well. And doing all that in a way that allows children of all different abilities to interact within that playground and to use the same equipment and to cooperate on the same equipment. It's also very important to remember caregivers when we talk about inclusive play. Many times it is caregivers who have mobility limitations, and we want to make sure that they also have access to be able to assist the children they're there with in using the play equipment. Nature play is, I think, a really important concept that the Parks Department has really been embracing. And there's going to be a designated area within this playground for nature play. Nature play, again, is still included to accommodate the full range of ages and abilities that'll be using this playground. But with nature play, the goal is to have a much more open-ended and unstructured version of play much more like what a child would encounter in nature. A lot of traditional play equipment is very linear in how children are intended to approach it, go up the ladder, go down the slide, etc. And while children are wonderful at employing creativity in how they use those pieces of equipment as well, with a nature play environment, you're really trying to create open-ended equipment that can be interpreted in a wide range of ways in terms of how to play. We're usually using natural materials to provide both the tactile experience and also materials that change over time and evolve over time to become part of that act of discovery within the playground, whether that's bark peeling away from a log or rocks that can actually be manipulated within the playscape. So that's kind of the basic idea of nature play, and we'll be showing you in each of our concepts how we've implemented both of those ideas. Next slide. So now we've got two concepts we want to present to you tonight. One on the left that we're calling Hills and Valleys, and one on the right that we're calling Lakeside Hideout. As I said before, this is located at the intersection of Blue Bluff Drive and Sailside Street. So you can see Blue Bluff on the left or west side of your screen and Sailside on the south side. You can see the existing restroom building that's going to be remodeled just south of Sailside. It's the white block in kind of the lower left corner of the screen. And you can see both concepts really present a plaza and main entry towards that area that would provide access to the parking and access across the playground. But from there, the concepts do start to diverge in some important ways. So I'm going to hand this presentation over to Edith from my team to kind of walk you through each of these concepts in more detail. And then I'll be back towards the end of this presentation to ask you some detailed questions about your opinions on this.
Thank
Edith?
you, Robert. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the first option, the Hills and Valleys Playground. This design, it integrates the site's natural topography and exaggerating it a little bit by pushing the play area a little bit further down the hill, incorporating existing trees for natural shade, shown in this area right here. A berm that is this raised strip of land is essentially an artificial hill in the middle of the play areas, is used to define both spaces, adding height and creating play opportunities. There is a circulating path that winds up and down the berm, doubling as a tricycle or a small bike track, with varied elevations going down the hill and looping around the natural play area. The lawn spaces are divided by a dry creek bed, which connects the rain garden, and those lawn spaces are surrounded by wildflower meadows. Here is a section of the Hills and Valleys option. As shown, this option would incorporate the topography into the play areas, making it adventurous, but also while being accessible, using bridges and elevating it, introducing multiple play levels. On one side of the berm, a themed play tower area will feature a large slide, climbing elements and interactive zones with tactile and musical play, as you can see in the middle row of photos. At the base of the berm, there's a swing set and some stone nooks that will allow children to hide and play while remaining visible to parents and caregivers, as shown on the bottom the two bottom left photos. On the other side of the berm, the natural play area includes an obstacle course made of natural elements, like the top left picture, a sand pit, like on the top right photo, a concrete hill slide built into a rock scramble with boulders and stairs, as you can see in the middle row of images. A water play area connects the dry creek bed and the rain garden, as shown in the bottom left photos. Additionally, we're proposing a picnic area under existing trees and two lawn areas that will provide views
of the lake as shown in the middle photo and the bottom right image. Oops. Now the second option, the lakeside hideout. This design is located on a flatter part of the site. It's closer to Blue Bluff Road, and it offers easy access to the food truck area and the picnic spaces, but it's also closer to traffic with less existing shades. Existing shade to address this will provide, and we're proposing large semi-mature trees that will be planted within the play area. The main entrance to the playground will be on the south side. A winding path that separates the play areas while keeping them visually connected. On the left side, there's a picnic area, and it's proposed to be near the food trucks, and it will be surrounded by wildflower meadows. Additionally, there will be 2 pocket lawns planned on the north and east sides of the playground, featuring a perimeter seating to create relaxed gathering spaces with scenic views of the lake. This section shows the lakeside hideout version, and as you can see in this option, there's not major changes in topography. It stays on the more level part of the site, slightly sloping towards the lake. The traditional play area here combines rubber and mulch surfaces and features a themed play structure. It will possibly be resembling a boat or aquatic wildlife to fit the lakeside theme, as shown on the middle left image. It also includes several jumping areas, as you can see in the top left photo, climbable features, like in the middle right image, a linear play structure, the bottom of the left, at the bottom left photo, a swing set, like the bottom right image. New trees will be planted in this area to add natural shade. And these are all images of proposed, but this space can be whatever we want. In the nature play area, this is designed for a more open-ended exploration. It's avoiding like rigid themes. This will allow kids to create their own imaginative play, whether it's a pirate's hideout or a shipwreck island. This space can be whatever we want, whatever they want it to be. This area would be anchored by a fort-style play structure, as in the top right image, and it is surrounded by obstacles, climbers, stepping stones, like in the top middle photo and the 2 bottom right images. This area features also a mud kitchen, allowing children to engage with mud, water, and dirt, encouraging imagination and sensitivity to nature, using textures and smells. Passive seatings and a hammock zone with boulders and logs will also enhance the natural setting, and it will also be included in this option as shown in the top right and bottom right photos. Now I'll pass it back to Robert for the survey questions.
Thank you, Edith. We're going to ask you a couple of questions here. The first question is going to be a general question about which concept you prefer, but I want to walk you through the questions that are going to follow that before we actually conduct the survey. So the first question will be, overall, do you prefer hills and valleys or lakeside hideout? And here, I want you to really pay attention more, or at least to a large degree, on how the project lays out and integrates with the site, more so than how it integrates thematic elements. Because as you'll see, the next three questions are going to be questions regarding thematic elements. So really think about, do you like the integration of topography to create interest and dynamism in the site? Or do you like to see the site a little more flattened out to create better accessibility and visibility to the site? Do we like pushing the playground a little further down the hill where it's farther from food trucks, maybe a little farther from traffic, and a little better integrated with existing shade? Or do we like pulling it up the hill to take advantage of the open space where we have fewer impacts on existing trees and still take some advantage of existing shade in both concepts? Those are the kind of questions you can kind of ask yourself, in addition to just how the playground lays out and what its overall character is. The next question we'll be asking you, next slide, Edith, or really the next three questions we'll be asking you are all about playground themes. So here what we want you to do is rate the general appropriateness of a thematic approach to the playground. So what I want to make clear here is these thematic approaches can be mixed and matched with the two concepts. They will integrate with the concepts as as appropriate given the overall layout. So here's the first playground theme. You can see this theme is both represented by these images and by the words active, adventurous, artistic, colorful, and playful. This theme tends to be a little more colorful, brighter, louder, a little more structured in nature, though there would absolutely still be nature play elements integrated into this playground. And what we're going to ask you to do is rate this on a score of 1 for most appropriate to 3 for least appropriate. Next slide. The second theme, represented by the images you see here, is also described by the words explorative, imaginative, nature, treehouse, and wildlife. So this theme would inspire us to push the playground more in this direction, whether we're working with a more traditional playscape like you see in the bottom left, just anchoring off natural colors and natural themes, or these more natural material playscapes like you see in some of the images on the right. I do want to emphasize throughout these themes that the images are only meant to represent a general direction, and the words and images together will create the design team's basis or inspiration for designing the specific playground here. So these wouldn't be the actual pieces of equipment that we'd be putting in place, though they could be very similar in some cases. These are more meant as a way to communicate what the general approach and feel and look should be. Next slide. The third theme, represented by these images, is the most thematically integrated, the most thematically forward in terms of really making the theme legible to the user. The words here are adventurous, aquatic, boating, fishing, and wildlife. And here we're envisioning some structures that are very consciously referencing boats, fish, or other similar elements, much as Edith explained in the second concept that she walked you through. So this would be the most thematically integrated, but again, of course, more open-ended nature play would be absolutely included, regardless of which of the playground themes is found most appropriate by our audience. But given the prominence of boating and fishing and aquatic wildlife in Watler E Park, we definitely wanted to at least explore a playground idea that really ties closely to that. Next slide. So now we're going to actually ask you to answer the question. So again, we've got the hills and valleys concept on the left. We've got the lakeside hideout concept on the right. And I think we're going to have a poll pop up here, and you're going to have the opportunity in real time to provide your preference between these two. And I'm just going to kind of give you guys a minute or two to provide your answers. If you have any questions that you need to have clarified to help you answer any of these, please feel free to post them in the chat. For instance, which one has more shade? I would say that both are taking advantage of existing shade. I think Hills and Valleys integrates existing shade a little bit better. However, Lakeside Hideout, we're proposing to add additional shade trees so that over time it might actually result in having more natural shade. We could take a similar approach in both, but the low shade area, we're creating more of a lawn space there in the Hills and Valleys concept.
Looks like we're ready to close out this poll. I think, Robert, I'm gonna go ahead and finish.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up this poll, move on to the next question. The next question is playground themes again. So you're going to be asked to rate each of these themes from a rating of 1, which is the most appropriate. So 1 means you like it the best, to 3, which is least appropriate, meaning you like it the least, at least for this specific project. You do not have to rate these 1, 2, and 3. You can rate them all 3 if you think they all stink. You can rate them all 1 if you love them all. You can do 1, 1, and 2, 3s, whatever it is that really reflects the way you feel about what is appropriate to this specific park in the specific project.
All right, I'm gonna finish out the poll.
Okay, I think we're wrapping up this poll, and we'll move on to the second theme. And again, these themes don't have a specific single word attached to them. It's really this whole family of images and words together that kind of make up the theme. This one appears to be popular. Looks like, is that all our responses?
Yeah, overwhelmingly 1 was the answer for that theme too.
Indeed. All right, let's move on to the third option. As this one wraps up, it also appears to be performing reasonably well. I think that's it, right?
Yeah,
Are these results visible already to folks, or do we need to share them?
I shared them briefly before we moved on, but I can pull them back up if you want to
Oh,
talk through
okay.
them. Yeah.
I mean, I think, yeah, I think, really what I want to do at this point is move into kind of open questions and comments, open up that up to the group. So thank you all for participating in that. Obviously, those are some very specific questions that will help inform the design of the playground as we move things forward. And I'm glad to see that there were some very clear opinions and directions offered through that process. We're also going to have an online poll, which we'll share more information on towards the end of this that will be sent out to reach additional audience as well. But in the meantime, I think we just want to open this up to any questions or comments. Please feel free to post in the chat, or I think we could probably raise a hand if someone wants to step in and speak or ask a question.
Robert, I wanted to highlight one question that was already in the chat and it was already answered. Someone asked, what is the overall square footage of the area? And Emma from Rialto answered, the square footage, including picnic areas and vendor parking, is around 50,000 square feet or 1.2 acres. So I didn't know if anybody had seen that or everybody had a chance to see that. Additionally, I saw a question with regards to, is the expectation that it is universal design? I don't know who from the project team might want to speak to that.
I thought I saw Ray answered that one as well. The design of the traditional and nature-based play will strive to be as universal as possible is a priority of the design.
Thank you.
And then several
yeah.
people have commented on the importance of shade. And one of the advantages of hiring a local design team is we live here, we do know. I do take my children to playgrounds and I understand how critical that is. But yes, 100%. I mean, one of the impetuses of locating it where we have some good trees to draft off of. We will look at adding artificial shade as well, but really want to emphasize creating as much natural shade as possible, both because natural shade has some just plain aesthetic and comfort benefits, but also it actually does provide greater cooling benefits due to the evapotranspiration of the trees themselves. Will this new park be free or an entrance fee is required? I'm going to throw that question to you, Ray.
So is this about the fee?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we're working on trying to see how we're going to be handling the fee. The current fee structure is primarily based on the use of the boat ramp and not necessarily coming into the park site. So we're going to try to make it or set it up so that folks can visit the park and not necessarily pay a fee unless they're going to launch a boat. And we're working on that.
Absolutely. I just want to say we appreciate y'all continuing that conversation because every time we have these meetings and we have pop-ups and we have our online survey, which I'll be sharing more information about in a minute. But every time we document that people are wanting to explore these improvements and that, you know, perhaps fees would be something that would inhibit them from doing that or prevent them from doing that, then we want to make sure that we document that. So every time we can have this conversation, it's important to help us point to the fact that this needs to be an ongoing discussion with leadership and with city council, so we can explore a solution where people can go to the park and enjoy it without having to pay an entrance fee if that's prohibitive for them.
Yes.
There was another question about are we certain there will always be water here, meaning that what if Austin Energy no longer needs the reservoir?
Yeah, so water, the lake will remain as it is. Currently, the water level is low because Austin Energy is needing to repair a couple of the dam gates. So that's why the water level is low. The water was intentionally drained to a specific water level so that Austin Energy can have access to the gates. But the water level itself is most of the time relatively constant, and that should not change unless there's a severe drought. And in that case, then the water level will naturally go below its normal or steady state. I see a question on vendors. So the Parks and Rec department does have a contract and concession group. And that particular group would be the one that set up how vendors would access the site to be vendors. We do have a couple of vendors already on parkland, and some of those are temporary, some of those are more longer term. So depending on how this particular group, the contract and concession group, wants to handle this, that'll determine how a vendor can have access to the 3 vendor sites that you saw on the drawings.
There's a question about the park connecting to a trail, like in the background image here. So actually constructing trails in the natural area south and east of this these improvements is part of the scope of this project. So we will be constructing a trailhead and some footpaths / dirt trails that wind through the woods surrounding this area. So it will be in the very near term connected to that trail. Long term, the master plan does envision connectivity to a citywide trail network as well. That will not be part of the scope of this phase 1 implementation, but it is part of the vision for the park long term.
Can I ask a follow-on question, just because it'd be hard to put in the chat regarding that? There's quite a bit of just natural trails out there as it is now. Is that something that is in plan? Is there a plan to enhance those or make that, I guess I'd say, readily known? So for mountain biking groups, learn to ride, those are the types of things we'd love to do there if the fees were lifted.
So I can tell you that we do have a signage program within the department, and we'll be putting in some new signs in this park as part of the improvement. And all of the existing trails that are there now, we'll look at and see how we can incorporate communicating the location of these trails so that when folks visit, they can get to them. So that's part of the overall, the bigger picture. But the improvements that we're speaking about today are primarily in that area that we showed at the very beginning of the presentation.
And I think I just see one more question with regards to the timeline on the fee change. And I would say I don't have a timeline on that. But we have a month of community engagement right now where we're launching this survey tomorrow, the online survey for these play features, and there's a general comment, open-ended. And so I encourage you to document that there so that we can, again, continue the conversation of pointing to the desire for this to be addressed with leadership. So I know that's not a very specific answer, but in a month, we'll definitely have that, community engagement report that we can point to as far as this phase 1 improvements, that's a real concern for people that we're hearing from. I see one more question. Where could we find more info about the plans you mentioned to connect park trails to the city network of trails?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll have to look into that. Because this particular site is located in the northeast quadrant of the city, I think there are plans in the future to have the and I apologize, I don't know the name of the trail, but it's a trail that starts at Go Valley Park and makes its way up north. I think there are plans in the future to have that trail connect to Watler E Lawn.
Right, and then the master plan or the vision plan for Watler E Long Park would detail how this park will be interconnected by internal trails so that you would have connectivity to that trail system. So those are the 2 different documents, the vision plan and then the overall trails master plan for the city would together show how the specific site would gain connectivity to the overall city's trail network.
So there's a question on the timeline, and I see that someone has gone and posted the schedule that I believe is also in our website, for the project website. And those dates are pretty much at this point in line with our current schedule. And so the playscape is part of the overall improvements. So when we get to the point of construction begins, at the beginning of construction, I should say, then we'll be able to tell you when the playscape and the rest of the improvements will be available for use. And so Probably based on the number of improvements and the area that we're working with, it's probably going to take between 9 months to a year to have the first phase completed once we begin the construction part.
And I will add that we're contemplating constructing this in such a way that instead of constructing everything at once, there would be some internal phasing so that the entire park would not be closed down for very much of that construction duration, but portions of it would be closed down for longer stretches.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the Southern Walnut Creek or the Walnut Creek Trail. From what I remember, the Walnut Creek Trail runs east-west, and the trail from Gavali is north-south. But I'm sorry, I just can't remember the name of that trail.
There's one more question.
Mhm.
If we can move away from the timeline and the trails, there's a question about splash pad or water feature. I just wanted to point out there's a mud kitchen in the second concept. There's not plans for a splash pad at this time. I didn't know if the Rialto wanted to add anything to that.
That's correct. We're not planning a splash pad at this site, at least in this phase. And I think it's outside the scope and budget of what we're contemplating at this point.
And then finally, will you be sharing the renderings? Would love to share with the survey that goes out. So this meeting is being recorded. The presentation will be on the webpage. The recording of this meeting will be on the webpage, as will the link to the survey. Because the survey is typically done by people on their mobile, we can't put a ton of images on the online survey, but we will have links within the survey to point to the images online. I hope that answers the question understandably. And then what are the next steps from here until construction? So I'll start with saying we're launching the survey. The survey will be live for a month, and then we will be doing pop-ups throughout that time, engaging. This is the largest metropolitan park in Austin, so this is a park for all of Austin. It is a beautiful place, and so we want as many people to know about this phase 1 improvement project as possible, and try to get as many people to weigh in on these lovely concepts that Rialto have done for us. And so we have a full month of engagement that we're doing, and you can keep up to date on the pop-ups with the webpage. And then after we complete the community engagement, we'll have our community engagement report summary that we'll then share with Rialto for them to digest and take it to the next stage. And I'll let Robert go from there.
Sure. So once we've got those responses, we'll be developing construction drawings. So we've already gone through schematic design, and we're in design development right now. We'll be developing construction drawings for the park that will then be publicly bid and constructed. The bigger portion of the timeline is permitting. So these improvements will have to be permitted through the city of Austin. Those permits have already been submitted, the initial phase. We submitted the initial phase of permits with the playground kind of as a question mark placeholder to start getting comments on some of the other bigger elements, like the utilities we're extending to this site, the renovation of the restroom, and the overall reworking of the parking and driveways throughout the site. So that first submittal has been submitted. That sort of timeline has been started on the permitting. We're anticipating that permitting process to wrap up late this year, would be my anticipation. By that time, we should have fully ready construction drawings ready to go be bid. At which point, it's get to the low bidder and build a great project. So right now, I don't see why that timeline wouldn't hold. Yeah, look forward to finishing collaborating with the Parks Department on this, keeping the public updated, and getting a great project built.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
I see people expressing excitement about this project, and I have to agree. I've loved fishing out at this playground or this park, and now to have a playground too would just make it even better. I'm going to share my screen for the project. Can y'all see this yet?
Not yet.
Might not be letting me share with all of our presenters tonight. So I'll put it in the chat, but essentially I wanted to highlight the project webpage, which one of our lovely attendees has already shared details from in the webpage, which are in the chat, I appreciate. But I'll share the web page, and that's going to have, like I said, our pop-ups and our online survey link. The survey can be taken in any language with just a click of a button. And also, I wanted to highlight for those of you who are interested in this project, you might also be interested in attending Thursday night, online or in person. Capital Delivery Services is holding its third Build Austin event at the Turner Roberts Rec Center. This Watler E project will be highlighted as part of the projects highlighted that evening. So you'll see some familiar faces if you guys come to that Build Austin event. I'll be there representing this project and another project with PARD, and other departments will be there representing their projects for this area of Austin. So if you're unfamiliar with it, it'll be at Turner Roberts on the Thursday evening, and there's an online virtual option or an in-person option. So if there's no more questions, I will take a pause and get our webpage up in the chat, and then just once again, really appreciate y'all coming tonight and loved the discussion. So really grateful for y'all.
Hey, Adrian, I have a question for you. If they
Yeah.
have more questions, what's the best way for folks to ask questions?
The best way for more questions to get answered if they think of something as soon as they leave is to go to the webpage, and there's a direct interface to email you directly, or they can email your email, which I'm putting in the chat.
Yes, at the very bottom of the webpage there is, yes.
Yep. Or it's also in the chat, and I can put mine in the chat as well. Again, I work really closely with Ronaldo and Rialto, all these R names, and Robert too on this project. So if I don't know the answer, then I know who to get the answer from. So I don't see any more questions, but jump in, interrupt me if I missed one. But I think we're good to go, and we can finish this meeting a few minutes early.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us this evening, and I hope you continue to participate and get involved with the development of the first phase of the improvements for Walter E. Long. And please tell your friends and anyone else in the city. This is a metropolitan park, so it's important for everyone.
Absolutely. Thanks again, everyone. Really appreciate you.
Right.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.